And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Thursday, March 28, 2024. We have a lot to talk about. We have two storms that will be impacting the state of Alaska now through the weekend. The second storm is going to have quite a bit of moisture and wind with it. That's going to spread all the way up across the interior. And we expect widespread moderate to heavy rain and snow, maybe a little mixed precipitation in some locations, but again, the potential for high winds, and I'll highlight those areas coming up. And behind these systems, then, some colder air returns by early next week. This colder air will linger here for the start of April, which potentially could lead to some additional snowfall in some locations, depending on where the next storms follow. But in the meantime, on this Friday mid-afternoon, we had a big network update today, so I'm running a little bit behind schedule. But for Kipnik, approaching front. This is the front that is going to bring in snow and some blowing snow that could be mixed with a little rain or even some freezing rain. 28 degrees this afternoon. Those clouds are thickening. Winds will be picking up. There is a winter weather advisory in effect there for coastal areas and a bit inland from Kuskokwim Bay and down through Bristol Bay. Agigik, increasing clouds as well as head of this frontal system. Temperature there above freezing at 36 degrees. So this is where the first action will be getting started as we go through this evening and overnight. So here are the current advisories, watches, and some special weather statements that are out. So I'll try to break this out. The first storm has just crossed the central Aleutians this afternoon, working its way. The low center is going to pass up near St. George and then up around Nunavik Island, Etolan Strait for midday Friday. That's going to bring our front that's arcing ahead of it with snow, blowing snow, and some mixed precipitation, lower Yukon Delta, including Nunavik Island, areas around Bristol Bay, north end here of the Alaska Peninsula. And that's for tonight into at least Friday afternoon, could linger into the evening. And then we have a second low that's coming out of the North Pacific that's going to ride up toward the Alaska Peninsula and then split into two pieces. One piece of energy works its way up the Etolan Strait and Cook Inlet. Another lags back to the west of the Alaska Range over the southwest interior. And this is a system, the second system has much more moisture and it's going to have stronger winds as well. So we have winter weather advisories out for this area of the, as we creep up the Yukon and the upper, the upper Kuskokwim. We'll see that snow from the initial low, in addition to the new snow coming up. It's going to just end up being in this region. That's the first part of it. Eventually, though, as the second low comes up, we're going to have moderate to heavy snow spreading up through the Yukon Valley and the central interior. In fact, areas of snow will push all the way across the Alaska Range to the Arctic coast by later in the weekend. So a pretty far-reaching storm. On the front end of this storm, the piece that splits up through Cook Inlet is going to have quite a bit of wind with it too. There's a high wind watch here Saturday for Anchorage Hillside. We could see some wind gusts up around 70 miles an hour. And even within the Anchorage Bowl, 50-mile-an-hour winds are not out of the question with this low that's going to be pulling northeastward. Also, high wind watch here for the central Alaska Range. I shouldn't say high wind, that's a winter storm watch, but for high winds and heavier snowfall as that moisture lifts northwards. Also, the Copper River Basin areas of the eastern Kenai could pick up moderate to heavy snow this weekend as a result of all that moisture lifting northward. And then this area creeping up here through the middle upper Yukon Valley, that's for the potential for some moderate to heavy snow later this weekend. These areas will be better defined for any advisories or warnings as we get into tomorrow, just prior to heading into the weekend. So an active pattern. So again, kind of taking a look at where we have some stuff going down. Winter weather advisory around St. Paul, 3-5 inches of snow, 35-mile-an-hour winds. Then as we get up here along the northern Bristol Bay coastline, up around Kuskokwim Bay back toward Nunavik Island, as much as 3 to 6 inches of snow with gusts of 40-45 miles an hour. So there'll be that blowing snow. The impacts coming here primarily later tonight through the morning hours on Friday, and then should begin to taper off during the day as we get into Friday evening. But then comes the second storm. So that low is going to lift out of the North Pacific And what's going to happen, it looks like the storm's going to split into two pieces. One is going to ride up through Etolan Strait and Cook Inlet. Another is going to go just west of the Alaska Range back here over the southwest interior. And what that means, moderate to heavy snow with winds. This area here of southwest interior and certainly along the Alaska Range could get blasted with some pretty good snows. On the east side, the storm, it's going to be warmer. So we're going to see coastal range that could be heavy, but as you go up in elevation with the mountains and it goes up in elevation pushing up through the Copper River Basin, we're looking at moderate to heavy snow potentially, and then certainly crossing the Alaska Range. There are areas where there could be rain mixed in, but crossing the Alaska Range, a storm like that's going to have a lot of wind and certainly the potential for heavier snowfall, and that's just getting us basically later Friday night through Saturday into early Saturday night. And then all that moisture is going to be further north across the central interior, and it's going to advance further north through the Brooks Range and all the way to the Arctic coast by later Sunday. So this is going to be a widespread, far impacting system. So here we have one low. It's kind of a weaker dissipating low. The main low, though, this afternoon has already come up here through the central Aleutians, and we have this front arcing ahead of it. There is a second low sitting down here just outside the bottom of your screen on the satellite image. That is the second low that's going to come up here toward the Alaska Peninsula and then likely split into two pieces. So here is the low this afternoon. Some gusty winds along it, by Aleutian or even southwest coast standards. The winds in the storm are not that impressive, but you could have 40, 45, maybe a 50-mile-an-hour gust with that as it works northeastward. There will be a band of accumulating snow that could mix with a little rain or even a little icy mixed precipitation before it diminishes tomorrow afternoon and evening. But then, and here's late tonight, we find that low tracking up across the Pribilov Islands, and then by afternoon Friday, we have the low situated around Nunavik Island, the Etolan Strait, occluded front nudging inland. And then little secondary development there near Kodiak Island, just a little wavelet of low pressure. But here's the second main moist low that's going to be coming up on Saturday. And that thing is expected to go up toward the Alaska Range. The main piece may go just west of the Alaska Range. And then we have this secondary development or easterly warmer piece that rides up through Shelikof Strait and Cook Inlet. Plenty of wind around it. That's why there's a high wind watch for Anchorage Hillside, as well as for, we expect high winds and potentially winter storm conditions there in the central Alaska Range. This area of the southwest interior, the lower middle Yukon, the Kuskokwim River Basin, could see moderate to heavy snowfall with this second system. And then this snow is going to spread all the way north across the Brooks Range to the Arctic coast. And within some areas of the interior, the Tanana Valley, just there near and north of the Alaska Range, there could be some mixed precipitation because initially there'll be a little warmer air drawn in out ahead of that storm, and it's going to be forced northward. But low temperatures Friday morning will be above freezing in many places of the Panhandle, maybe the exception being like Wrangell on up toward Juneau. Little colder, Copper River Basin 13, but we're not expecting temperatures to fall a ton. Clouds are going to be increasing as we go through Friday. Temperatures 40s and 50s across the Panhandle. Could have 40-degree readings. Anchorage Bowl, 41 at Talkeetna, 44 at Kodiak City. And then for Saturday morning, lows above freezing in the Panhandle. And then back out toward Cook Inlet in these areas Saturday morning. Lows will be probably just above freezing with building winds, and you could see, again, mainly some rain. There's a lot of downslope, so Anchorage won't get as much precipitation initially, form of rain. But along the coastal areas where you get the lift along the coastal mountains, there could be some moderate to heavy rain and strong gusty winds. And for Saturday afternoon, we expect temperatures 40s to near 50. Initially, the Panhandle isn't going to get in on too much precipitation, but there will be a chance in this region as we go through Saturday night into Sunday. There could be a period of accumulating snow, the northern Panhandle, and especially along these inner coastal mountains. If you're down towards sea level, especially central, western, southern areas, it should be mainly rain, some gusty winds. But back out here, we're going to have colder air come in behind the low on Sunday, and Anchorage could actually pick up a couple few inches of wet snow. So I'll give a better look at that come tomorrow's video. But in the north, You're going to see temperatures rise. Earlier today, Buckland had the state's low temperature down around 8 below zero. And up to the north, we have temperatures come Friday morning still near or a bit below zero in a few spots. But notice the milder temperatures, 41 at Fairbanks, 43 at Eagle. There's initially some mild air here in place. And as we go through Saturday, coldest temperatures are residing here north slope along the Arctic coast near or a bit below zero. Saturday morning lows below freezing, most areas of the Yukon Valley there. And then temperatures again back up around or a bit above 40 here through the middle upper Tanana Valley. We're going to have some winds building. We're going to have that precipitation. The central Alaska range could be heavy snow, so driving through there along the Alaska Highway could be tricky in spots. And then by Friday morning, the interior, we expect lows not to go down too much from the current temperatures, mid-20s. They'll actually bump upward as we get toward through the morning hours. And high temperatures should get above freezing in many areas of the Southwest, especially along the coast and up here through the upper portion of the Alaska Peninsula. So again, we don't expect snow amounts to be too heavy in terms of accumulation, just that brief period with gusty winds. There could be some blowing and drifting snow. And then for Saturday morning, temperatures kind of stay just below freezing here across the lower Yukon, creeping up the Kuskokwim. There is some colder air back out along the Aleutians where temperatures are generally just below freezing. And then Saturday afternoon, with the second low, is riding up here, splitting, going east of the Alaska Range and west of the Alaska Range. We expect temperatures ahead of that could easily be above 40 in most locations here along the western Gulf, creeping up through areas along Cook Inlet. Back to the west, temperatures near or just above freezing. So what I want to show you moving forward here as we go into early April, as I mentioned, behind these two storms later this weekend and especially early next week, we'll start to tap into colder air. So we're going to say temperatures are going to average below normal across much of the mainland into the southeast here to early days of April, maybe a bit above normal eastern Aleutians, tip of the Alaska Peninsula. Going a little further along past the first week of April, still the likelihood of temperatures to average cooler than normal. So what does that mean in April? Well, it means you still could get some snow. You just got to get the storm to roll in there. And there is the potential for above normal precipitation here over southwest mainland as we go through the 3rd and 7th of April. And then just kind of looking at things, because the confidence of this forecast being a little further out is a little lower, but at least the potential exists for precipitation to average a bit above normal in a stripe right up here through the middle of the mainland from southwest to northeast. So many spots may still see some additional snow here as we go through the first week or two of April.